Good evening, I'm Marty Olsen, and welcome to another edition of City Focus. And tonight I'm delighted to have as my guest a friend of mine who I met, I don't know, about 4 years ago in an out-of-government capacity. At the time I was working for Ted Nelson, and I come out to your home to look at some potential work on your home, which I'm not sure who you had do it, but it wasn't us. But with my involvement in New London government, I had an opportunity to cross paths with Tony again, and he is the coordinator of the New London Community and Campus Coalition, which is a subset of New London Youth Affairs.
And the Rec Department.
And the Rec Department of New London. So I think we're in for an invigorating conversation this evening. If I may just briefly give you a little overview of Tony, and before we get into our program. He was raised in the New York area, New York metropolitan area, and attended public schools in Port Chester and Rye, New York, and graduated from Rye High School in Rye, New York. Attended Parsons School of Design in New York City, and graduated with a BFA degree in Environmental and Architectural Design, and graduated from Manhattanville College with an MAT in Education. He also has a Community Anti-Drug Coalition of America. He's attended the National Coalition Academy, the Getty Leadership Institute for Museum Management, Harvard Negotiating Team Workshop. Impressive.
That was good.
And he's a certified teacher in Maine, Connecticut, and New York. So you've got a depth and breadth and scope of things that you can
go figure
get involved with. In reverse order, he's worked at the Hebron Academy in Hebron, Maine, from 79 to 86. He was a chairman of the Arts Department. Worked at St. Joseph's College in North Windham, Maine, as an adjunct professor of art. He's been the executive director for the Children's Museum of Maine in Portland between 86 and 93. And then he moved into southeastern Connecticut as the executive director of the Children's Museum of Southeastern Connecticut in Niantic from 1993 to 2006. And from 2007 till the present, he's been involved with the NLCCC. So you've got quite an eclectic mix of things that you've been involved with in your adult life, and you've really put your education to work.
Right. Well, I didn't even tell you, this is my 7th career. I've had 7 different careers. Because what I didn't tell you was that I worked as an architect early on, and then I got involved in advertising. I was running 5 weekly New York newspapers, and then I ended up, what else did I do? I've done a few other things in my life, but it just sort of, I ran a bike and ski shop in Middlebury, Vermont. I owned one for a few years in between all of that. Back in, I'm a sort of a product of the 60s, so, it was like, go to Vermont, open up a bike shop, and really you go, there you go.
Well, did you go to Woodstock?
Well, I have a story. Well, my 3 friends and I were working at a country club, and one of them couldn't get off work till noon. So we had the car packed, we're ready to go. We were only about 2 hours away, 2 or 3 hours away, and we started on the road, and we hear on the radio that it's all blocked up. You can't get in there, you can't go anywhere, So we ended up turning around and coming back. But my friend's brother got there. And we hadn't heard from, after he got there, we never heard from him for like 5 or 6 days because we didn't know where he was. But he was the one who was trying to get us a space to go in there and stuff.
I'm sure if you had made it in there, you would have found him. I mean, it was such a small club.
Yeah, I know. Well, we didn't know what to expect. And, we thought it would be easy, just bring up a picnic lunch and let's go.
If we only knew.
Yeah, right. Well, if I only knew, I would have been probably tried harder to get there.
There we go. Before we get too involved in the program, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that we have 2 students from the Drop-In Learning Center who are working tonight in the control room. One is an 8th grade student from Isaac School, that's Azelle Morales, and we have a 7th grade student from Benny Dover Jackson Middle School, which is Dikea James. And they were here last week, and they enjoyed it so much they've come back. And I'm hoping to make this a regular gig for these kids.
You didn't chase them away then, Marty?
Well, I tried not to. They did a great job last week, and I'm hoping we can make this a regular opportunity for the young folks to do something that a little bit out of the norm.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's wonderful. I think that's a great idea.
Well, let's get into it. And I'd also like to mention two folks. As usual, we are live tonight, so if you'd like to contribute to the program by calling and offering some comments, suggestions, questions, please feel free. Locally, we're at 860-440-3154, or if you're out of the local area, we can be reached at 800-253-2285. So give me a little bit of an overview here of what is the New London Community Campus Coalition?
Well, when I was hired in 2007, a gentleman by the name of Glenn Gross had started this with Ellen Kleckner in the Youth Affairs Office, and they were given a grant to kind of start prevention work in New London, keep kids off of drugs and so forth. And Glenn moved to Vermont, believe it or not, and did some work up there, doing the same thing, prevention work.
Doing his inner hippie?
Yeah, no, and so I was hired to take Glenn's place, and we're very fortunate. I was very fortunate to. I had not really been part of a prevention or a coalition before, understanding what prevention was with kids and stuff, and. It gave me an opportunity to learn a lot about how teens operate. I mean, the last time I was a teen was many years ago, and we don't operate the same way anymore, So it was really interesting to find out how they operate and how I could help New London youth make good decisions and how we could work that in. And we were very fortunate with Ellen and Ledgelight writing a grant. We were able to get a couple of grants and keep this going from now and for a few more years going out. But prevention is, the whole prevention field has become much more scientific in how they approach prevention. You don't really see like the fried egg in the pan and saying this is your brain on drugs. That doesn't work. Kids don't.
I remember when I remember if it was grammar school, junior high, high school, somewhere in that distant past, they used to run up the movie. It was not a video because we didn't have videos then. And they'd be smoking some cigarettes and then pot, and then 5 minutes later somebody would be on heroin.
Right.
Right. It happened so quickly.
The progression. That's the progression. And that's what they did. They tried to scare kids into not doing it. And that really doesn't work. And what you really have to do, and kids in the teenage youth, the 12 to 18, 20 years old, they want to make their own decisions. They want to be able to take charge of their own life. And what we try to do is provide information, real solid scientific information about what happens when you do drink at an early age, what happens when you do smoke pot, what happens when you do take prescription drugs that are not meant for you. It's all part of what happens when you smoke tobacco. All these things have negative effects on your body, but they also play a part in your social life, in your family life, and other things. It affects everybody. It's not just you. Now
how do you combat? I'm playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, go right ahead.
That tobacco is legal.
Oh yeah, so is alcohol for anybody 21 and older.
And in some states, pot is becoming legal for medicinal purposes.
Right, Connecticut's one of them.
How do you handle that line?
Well, it all goes back to making good decisions for you as a teen, as a person. If you really want to do well in school, if you really want to excel in your sport, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to play in a band, whatever you want to do, everything you do is affected by whatever you put in your body. So if you're smoking or drinking, if you're smoking, my God, your teeth turn yellow, they fall out. You have all kinds of issues besides the fact you have cancer, proven cancers and so forth. So there's really decisions that have to be made. And I can't sit there and say, well, you don't smoke, don't drink, don't do these things. kids are going to do whatever they want to do, but what you want to do is make good decisions about these things. It's really important to provide honest information. You don't want to try to scare them. You don't want to do things. We have lots of material, and we do a lot of data collection. And if I could show these in front of me. I could put them in front of me. I don't know how well people can see these. But the thing is, we try to be hip and sort of urban in New London. I mean, this might not work in sort of another town like Salem or somewhere, but and we do a lot of data collection. So we know from our data collection. That statistic
that you're putting up here,
yes,
88% of New London students, grades 7 through 12, do not use alcohol. I find surprising. So
yeah, and well, this is data we collect every 2 years. We do a youth survey. We survey somewhere between 600 and 800 teens in New London, mostly from middle school and high school public schools. And so this is what the data comes back at. Now,
where would you post something like this?
Well, this is, right now they're in the middle school, and we're hoping to have, they're in the high school, but they're also in faith-based places around. They're wherever we can put them up, we put them up. And if anybody would like any of these kinds of posters, then we also have them in Spanish. This is the Spanish version of another one we have. And let me see, the English version of it is here somewhere. But what it is that we do everything in English and Spanish, so that if somebody, the English version is 90% of New London students grades 9 through 12 do not smoke marijuana. Now, people find that hard to believe. This is called social norming marketing. People don't understand that everyone, if you ask a middle school kid or you ask a high school kid, you'll say, oh, everybody does it. Everybody's smoking. Everybody's doing marijuana. Everybody's drinking.
Well, you look at this, everybody's not.
Right, exactly. But this is data. We get this from them. They give us this data. Now, we also, when they do these surveys, we have a professional person that we hire, sort of evaluate the surveys, and he knows when the kids are putting things in and they shouldn't be, like just playing around with us or something. He knows when that's happening. And so there's a certain percentage, maybe 2 or 3%, that get thrown out because...
And how large is the sample size?
Well, I said between 600 and 800. We do 600 and 800 youth. And it's really amazing because we've done data collecting for 3 times now. We did it in 2006, 2010, and 2012. And we're going to do it again in 2014. And this booklet, which is both in English and Spanish, and we have these available, and anybody who wants any number of these, I can provide these to you. But this gives you a summary of what we've been doing for the last 2 years. This summarizes the years 2010 to 2012. And
now let me ask you a question, because I think it's ironic, because we do have 2 middle school students who are volunteering in the control room tonight.
Right.
And they're representing the Drop-In Learning Center. Is your material in the drop?
I would hope it is. If it isn't,
I suspect
if it isn't, I was taking these home tonight. But yeah, no, I hope it is. And it's an Isaac school for sure. We're beginning to develop a relationship with Isaac School. I don't know if people realize it, but that New London, the New London community has the option of about 7 or 8 middle schools and high school choices. It's not just one of there's just several choices, and it's hard to do all of them. We can't do all of them, so we really have to focus on the ones where a majority of New London teens go.
And is that based upon your funding sources?
Yes, yeah. We're strictly supposed to be working in New London. That's where it is. Other communities have other grants. Waterford, Groton, and so forth have grants to do similar work. So our work is primarily New London, or is New London.
So, for instance, the Science and Tech High School, then you would not be in there because it's regional. Well, and then literally across the hall, you have New London High School.
Right. We could be in New London in the Science and Tech School. I mean, it depends on access and who's it's hard to come. We have a very small staff, and it's very hard to go all over the place. We're putting a lot of effort into New London Middle School, Benny Dover, Allison Ryan, the who is the principal there, has been very good to us in allowing us to do things in Betty Dover, which is really nice.
Do you have an opportunity to interact directly with the students, or is it primarily through materials like this?
Well, we have started a SAD group, Students Against Destructive Decisions, which my co-worker, Cassie Falvey, runs that. And we have about 12 middle school students who were part of that SAD group. And they were just at Ocean Beach this weekend, as a matter of fact, helping clean up. And they've done a lot of great work. They helped in the Irish Parade. They helped in the other parade that we had. I'm sorry, but there were a couple of parades recently that we had.
Well, you had the Martin Luther King walk. You had the Irish Parade.
Oh, and they helped with the teen center, at the Guard, the teen
the talent show.
Talent show. I'm sorry, I got so many things going on.
That's
in my head
okay.
right now. The teen talent show. They helped with usher that. The SAD group works on the. They help Riona once doing some work there. They volunteer all over the community, all around the community, doing work, and they're good, nice, really great kids. And we started this group, and we hope to continue this group, start one in the high school maybe next year, and continue this again next year in the middle school.
Part of your title of the organization is the New London Community and Campus Coalition.
Right.
Coalition conjures up images of more than one.
Yes.
There's multiple agencies or groups that are forming what you're doing. Why don't we kind of give a little bit of an outline of who you're affiliated with and the different roles that these groups may have?
Well, this was started again back in 2006 maybe by Glenn and Ellen Kleckner. And what it was that Connecticut College actually helped start it also. It was one of the early people that helped start this whole coalition. And the name, the New London Community and Campus Coalition, is from the fact that the colleges are involved.
Are they still involved?
Well, they're involved. They're involved in their own way when their needs are met, and if we need something or they need something, we collaborate. A lot of times, Russell Schoen, who is the prevention officer at the Coast Guard Academy, will tell me something's going on, or can I do something for him? Mitchell College will come in once in a while and ask for something, if we have something, or materials or so forth. And Connecticut College the same way. So we accommodate when we can, but we don't. We have monthly meetings, which everybody's invited to. They're open meetings, so anybody who would like to attend can come. The third Wednesday of the month is a meeting at the Martin Center at 11:30, and we work to provide. Our little tagline is promoting healthy, vibrant, and productive lifestyles for our teens, and we're talking about New London teens, and that's what we're really trying to do. So it's a prevention. We do prevention work, but we also look at other things that are going on in a teen life: the violence, the bullying, the the teen sex, unprotected sex, teen pregnancy. All those things are part of what happens when kids get involved with drugs. They lose interest in school, and they're looking for something to do, and they usually find something negative to do as opposed to something positive.
That sounds good. Now you kind of outline how people can get involved, and you've got your that meeting on the third Wednesday. That's a lunch meeting. It's a working lunch.
Right.
I attended one. I don't know, was it a month or two ago,
Right.
Which I found kind of interesting. And if opportunity permits, I'd like to come back and visit you.
All the time. You're welcome every month. So we encourage it. And there's a lot of our organizations that are part of this, both for-profit and non-profit. The Drop-In Learning Center comes, when they can. Not everybody doesn't come. We have 10 meetings a year. We don't have meetings in July and August because the summer is crazy. But people come in and out as they need to. Decisions are made by the group. A lot of this marketing material you see here, a lot of these posters and so forth, these concepts were really created by the organization, by the group. And so it's not something like that that it's unilateral decisions, but we take votes on things. We look at what things will work, what things don't work. We were able to. We primarily focus on 4 drugs, which is tobacco, marijuana, alcohol, and prescription drugs. And one of the big things we've done in the last few years is we put a drop box, prescription drug drop box, in the police station, and that's this box right here.
So you're not getting involved with heavier duty stuff such as crack cocaine, heroin.
Because these things are what lead to those things, and so that's the alcohol. These are called gateway drugs. What I'm mentioning here, and the gateway drugs are what will eventually you can't get high enough on marijuana. You can't get high enough on a prescription drug, or you can't get whatever you want out of it. So you go to something a little bit more complicated, a little bit more.
So you're trying to short circuit it at the start.
Right.
Well, the mission certainly is admirable. Again, folks, I'd like to remind you you're watching City Focus, and I'm Marty Olsen, your host. And tonight I'm joined by Tony Mollica, who is running the New London Community and Campus Coalition and dealing with preventative measures for teens, middle school through high school, kind of, dealing with, again, alcohol, tobacco, marijuana, and prescription drugs, and trying to get the young folks to take up a more healthy lifestyle and do it with to me, it looks like a pretty integrated process here. It's not heavy-handed from the top.
No, it really isn't. It's, again, we want them to make these decisions. We want these kids to understand that we're on their side. We want to help them. We want them to succeed. We're not looking for anybody to fail. We want you to succeed. What can we do to help you succeed? And that's really what it comes down to. We have things like, I know this is kind of corny stuff, but everybody was wearing bracelets. This is a bracelet and a be bold, be you, stay away from drugs. We have a branding that part of my education with this CAD Academy that you mentioned earlier. We went to the New England and Eastern Counter Drug Intelligence facility in Fort Indiantown Gap, Pennsylvania, and that's where all the counter drug happens in New England and on the Atlantic coast, and that's all National Guard stuff, and so we were there. Cassie and I went there for 3 weeks last summer and studied a lot about what we're doing here. A lot of what you see here are things that, branding yourself, making kids aware of being, doing positive promotions, and just keeping your image and your message in front of the public any way you can. We have bus ads right now on the seat buses that you might be seeing right now. So
are those hard copy? I mean, they're like on the bus?
They're right on the bus.
Are they scrolling, or are they? No, it's just like a big billboard.
A big billboard on the bus.
Billboard.
Yeah, on the buses. We bought 3 of them this year, and they're running for 2 months. They're running right now, as a matter of fact. And we do other things. We do again, positive things. We're doing seller server training. We did that just last couple of weeks ago. We did 9. What we want to do is educate the bartenders, people who serve alcohol, people who sell alcohol. So we have seller server training, and we pay for that out of this grant. And we've over the course of the last 3 years or so, we've probably done over 100 sellers and servers in New London have taken that course. We just got a call today from ShopRite. They want some of their staff to take this course also. So we're going to be providing that course to ShopRite staff, because they understand that when somebody comes in, or if they're not sure about whether to sell to that child or somebody, if they're intoxicated already or something, you don't want to sell to them, or if there's something. So, we really want everybody to understand we're promoting, good things. We're promoting being a good neighbor, being a good person in your community, positive things happening.
Now, I want to explore something, because kids make mistakes. So do adults, for that matter.
Right.
But this afternoon, before coming down to the station, I had an opportunity to run across a mutual friend of ours, Officer Max Birch, who's the resource officer at Illinois High School.
Right.
And he asked me to broach with you the effectiveness of the Juvenile Review Board and how you're working with that and with him, because he was painting a pretty bright picture of first offenders who were getting an opportunity to use a different method
To redeem themselves.
and perhaps you could, elaborate on that, because I mean, what it is and how it works, and how it works with you.
Sure. A Juvenile Review Board, and there's one in many communities now. It used to be, there were far and few between, but I started this 3 years ago in New London, and we tie it into what we're doing, of course, but we work with the schools, we work with the New London Police Department. It's essentially any youth who is anywhere from 10 to 12 to 17 who commits a misdemeanor and has not been arrested prior, we could take their case. Max is somebody who's like our, he's the guy who kind of the liaison, and he could tell us whether this kid can come in. Is he going to the courts or is he coming to the JRB? And by not going to the courts, 85% of the youth who go to a juvenile court end up in the court system. So if we could provide or prevent any kids from going into the system, that's a big plus for many reasons. So since we've been doing this, we're averaging somewhere around 40 to 50 cases a year where we're taking these kids and they're not going into juvenile court, but they're going to what they call a community court. And that's made up of people in the community. And again, we want to help these kids. We're not doing things punitive. If a child is...
If the youth does something wrong, whatever it may be,
yes.
Who is, who's the judge, so to speak? Or is it a group? Is it an individual?
No, it's a group. It's a community. It's a community jury.
And does this youth need legal counsel?
No, you can't. What has to happen is the youth and the parents have to agree that the youth committed this crime.
They have to admit that up front.
They have to admit it up front. We committed this crime, and I'm remorseful. I'm sorry I did it, and I'm here to take my punishment, whatever it is. And we.
If there are damages, can restitution be?
We cannot force people to pay money, especially a lot of people in New London just don't have the resources. But what we can do is give them community service. So we've had cases where somebody, for example, has stolen from a market. And so we worked it out with the owner of the market and with the kid that he would go back there and he would volunteer there as part of his diversion. So he put hours in sweeping the floors and doing things like that.
So you need cooperation from those who have been harmed as well.
Well, they have to agree that they don't want to press the charges in court too, and most of them do. They're not out to hurt these kids either most of the time. We've had we've had all kinds of cases. There's been some theft. There's been some bullying cases. There've been some.
And is this only for first time, or if it's a repeat individual, can they get this?
It would be an exception, but I wouldn't say that we wouldn't do it. But it would have to be somebody who the offenses have to be minor, and the kid has to be just making some bad decisions. We can ask for people to have family therapy as well as individual therapy, so we can have these diversions, so that if there's a little dysfunction in the family or the child needs some discussion or some therapy, we could provide that for them. We are trying to we want this person, this kid, this family, to come out of this in a very positive way. We want him or her to succeed in school. We want them to graduate,
And succeed in life.
Yeah, no, exactly. But the thing, we got to start small, and hopefully that's what happens.
Yeah. One thing that Max mentioned to me, and I think this is important, regarding this specific program is that a youth that goes through this process successfully, their indiscretion does not go on the record. They don't have a criminal record.
No, right.
So it's like, you might say it didn't happen.
Right, exactly.
So they're not harmed by this going forward.
No, and because they've agreed, and the family has, and they've admitted their guilt, you know, that's a big plus. I mean, let's face it, you know, when you admit, yeah, I did it, I'm really sorry, I don't want to do it again, and I want to, you know, see how to, you know, we can help them do that, and that's what that's really all about. That's really important. You know, the thing, New London, there's a lot of opportunities in New London, and the problem, I think, is that there's not, either the parents or sometimes the kids don't know what's out there. You know, how do I, you know, how can we do things? Or, you know, and I have to say the New London police have been wonderful. Max is a great guy, and the New London police have been very supportive of what we do, and we work well together, and I think that's really important. We also do things like compliance checks, and I know the package stores think that's like, you know, like we're trying out to get them. We're only trying to make sure they do their job. I mean, their job is not to sell alcohol to minors, and, you know, if you're not doing that, you have nothing to worry about. But, you know, that's something that we, you know, it's part of what we have to do also, is make sure that, you know, I have to tell you, we've done compliance checks for the last 4 years plus, and the first time we did it, we had, I forget, it was 40 or 50% of people that we tested were guilty. They were selling to minors. The last time we did it, only 1 out of 26. So something's working, you know, and that's good. You know, I don't want to catch people. I want to, you know, let's let it go.
Mm-hmm. Folks, we're live tonight, and if you'd like to contribute to the program, we'd love to hear from you. And the phone numbers are on the screen. So if you'd like to offer some thoughts or comments, questions, please do. Locally, we're at 860-440-3154 or at 800-253-2285. And again, I'm Marty Olson. This is City Focus, and I'm with Tony Mollica. You mentioned earlier you have a small staff. What is your staff? I mean, how many people are driving this program in your office?
There's 2 other part-time staff.
Part-time, so you're full-time?
Essentially, yes.
And 2 part-time?
Yes.
And what do your part-time folks do?
Well, we have one is a case manager, Monica Potts, for the JRB, and she works with us on other areas, but primarily the case manager. And then we have Cassie Falvey, who is the prevention coordinator and works with the SAD group, and she does a lot of the data. We have to provide monthly reports and so forth. She does a lot of that stuff. And she's, you know, they're both doing, you know, fantastic jobs and getting things done around. We do a lot for to get our message out and so forth. And we try to collaborate with other organizations, like, you know, like ShopRite's one of the organizations, and they've helped us out before.
ShopRite, you know, does a lot, gives a lot back. The Capano family has been, I think, very special to the
very special.
New London. I suspect Norwich as well.
Well, very special in New London. I think they're really a great store to work with. You know, they have great people in there, and I'm very excited that they're in New London. I mean, it's nice to have people who want the same thing you're looking for. You know, have a better community. So,
now, what is your program's budget, and how are you funded?
We are currently funded by 2 large grants and 1 small grant, and we're funded by something called a drug-free community, DFC, which is very. I mean, we're one of. I think there were only. I'm trying to think. 30 communities last year in all of the country who got this grant, 30 or 40. So we're one of only 30 or 40 communities that received this grant. This is a 5-year grant. It's $125,000 per year. You can renew it for another 5 years if you're doing a lot of good work, if they see that you're being, you're doing what you should be doing. One of the things, just to not to say, but we also have a PFS grant, which is from the Department of Mental Health, and a state grant.
Now, the other grant was federal?
Federal, directly from the President's office. That drug-free community comes right out of the President's office. In fact, I was able to meet just last month the U.S. drug czar, Gil Karolkowski, and I had to get clearance. We had to meet, and had to be buzzed in. It was kind of interesting that, and he was really nice about meeting with all of our drug-free community people in Connecticut, and he was really in the grassroots, finding out what's working, what's not working, kind of thing. So it's pretty neat when you get to meet these people and you see how what you do goes all the way up to the top. It's kind of
now, do you apply for these grants, or is that something that the Office of Youth Affairs and Ms. Kleckner applies for you?
Well, we apply. Yes, she and
or does it come out of the rec department?
She and I identify the grants. This grant was written by Ellen and by the Legislate, and we all contribute to a successful grant. Believe me, it's not. These grants are 100 pages or better. I mean, these aren't 3-page grants, and there's a lot of reporting. There's a lot of information they want, and they want also the city. This is a matching grant, so the city's match is really the office space, the lights, the telephone, those kinds of things. Ellen's time. Those are the city's match to our grant.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that, because I mean, but there's no local tax dollars supporting this program at all.
None. Not that I think.
Not directly. It's not like your salary or any of your staff salaries being paid for out of the mill rate. It's all via these grants.
All grants, and in a way, it's good. In a way, it's not good, because when the grants go away, so does all this prevention. So does this support for the youth in New London go away. I mean, would I like to say that the city should support this through a budget? Yes. Other cities, towns, Groton, Waterford, East Lyme, they have budget lines for these things. And would I like to see New London do it? Sure, because New London, I think, has a great need for this, a great need to support their youth and positive things, positive.
Where are you currently, your office currently located? If somebody wanted to find you and your program, where are you and how?
Yeah, we're at the Martin Center, 120 Broad Street. I'm on the first floor. If you go through the doors, you make a left. My office is right on the left. I literally have bars on my window, which
I do, yes. I visit periodically.
But anyway, yeah, so it's right on the first floor. And I would invite anybody to come and talk with us. And, it would be great to, we have some parents who come to our meetings occasionally, which is wonderful. We love to have parents come and discuss,
I can't imagine that a parent would come to you if their kids are behaving. But that parent who comes in who's distraught and thinks their child maybe is going down the wrong path, and if they come to you, are you able to help them directly, or do you kind of try to find the place where they need to go? Or combination thereof.
Well, I could help them. I could help them find help. I could, if they're looking for services in this area, I can help them with that. But I don't have services. I don't provide, services directly, therapy or something like that. But I could help them find services if that's what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
It's very important.
Now, when you get involved with grants, and you've alluded to this in our conversation, that the folks who are funding this program and different aspects of it want to see that their money's being wisely used.
Right.
So how do you measure what you're doing to satisfy the reporting requirements that you're in fact meeting your obligations?
A couple of ways. Part of it is our media campaign, how successful that is, and the data we do every 2 years. In other words, are we lowering use, Are we raising the age of initiation, which means if kids started drinking at 12.6 years, did we raise that to 13.1? Did we lower the rate of alcohol or drug use? And let me see if I can find it. But in our booklet that I had, that little booklet, which is going somewhere right now. But anyway, the data in there is very updated in the sense that we have lowered, since we started this, we have lowered everything except marijuana use. We've lowered tobacco use, we've lowered alcohol use, and prescription drugs. And the one thing that it's hard to lower, it's marijuana use. And that's because...
Especially since society is going the other
right,
direction.
Exactly. Well, yeah. And so we're beginning to treat that like alcohol. So what we're saying is, look, try to avoid using marijuana. Don't use marijuana until, unless you have a medical problem or something, because it does affect your brain. I mean, I know I've seen people whose brains are literally fried because they use marijuana on a regular basis. I mean, you see it. I've seen it, and it's a shame. But it's drugs. There's a good place for drugs, and there's a bad place. And if you get in the bad part with it, it's gonna be a downward turn in your whole life. You're gonna affect your family, your parents. You're gonna affect your education. You're gonna drop. Most kids drop out of school. They end up floundering for a while because they've either gotten involved with drugs or something. They have to, if they are involved with drugs, they have to find ways of providing the support, money to pay for those drugs and so forth. So it's not an easy way, an easy thing. I think that, like I said, the one thing, and these decisions are made by the kids themselves, the teens themselves. No one's going to make that decision. Your mother would have a positive influence on you, and your peers have a huge influence on you. Your mother and your parents and your peers have huge influence.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that, when you mention peers, which to me I find fascinating, and you open with this, is some of these statistics that are on these posters.
Right.
Is that the vast majority of the kids are conducting themselves appropriately. You would think that the peer pressure would be to be good as opposed to being bad. To be very simplistic about this analysis.
Well, but you're 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th grader. You're going to a party, and there's a couple of kids in the corner, and they're whatever they're doing, and that you want to be part of the quote in group. And that in-group, you think is the in-group is the ones that are doing all the negative stuff, but it's really not. There's much more out there, many more kids and cliques that are doing positive things than they are negative. And I think the reason why we do this is because when a kid sees this and he says, "Oh, I really thought more kids were, everybody was doing it. I feel good about it. I'm one of the kids that are not doing it." That's that positive norming, social norming marketing that we're doing.
And perhaps, too, that with the younger students, the middle school students, who may not be exposed to this yet, at least when we were coming through, middle school was pretty young. Maybe today it's different, I don't know. Yeah. But that when as they're growing and getting a little older and getting into high school, when they're going to be getting more exposure to some of these negative elements, that they will have the fortitude to say, "Nah, I don't think this is the right thing to do."
Yeah.
As opposed to getting wrapped up into it when they do get older.
Right. I think that's all part of it. If you could, the age of initiation is very important, which they used to collect data on that. They don't do that so much anymore. When did you take your first drink? When did you take your first cigarette? When did you smoke your first marijuana? So they don't do that. That's not important anymore, because the thing is that information is too convoluted to collect, really. Whether it was 12.1 to whatever. So it's really, really interesting. But we also do community surveys with the adults in the community, and when we first did our community survey, most of the parents, I wouldn't say most, a good number of parents thought it was okay for their kid to have a drink, especially if they're home or at a party with them, or if they're in the house with them or something. And we've changed that, turned that around. In fact, the last community survey we did, we found out that 90% of New London families know it's wrong to provide minors with alcohol. 90% know it's wrong. Now, the trick to that is, are 90%, not doing it, or 90% know it's wrong, but 20% are still doing it. We can only lead them. We can only get there some by increments. So it's not like we can do this. But this blue booklet, if anybody wants one, has a lot of the data from 2010 to 2012, for example, on tobacco. And
is any of this material available online on Facebook, or do you have a website?
Yes, we have a website. I'm glad you asked, because I forgot all about it. But anyway, we have a website. Everything here is available on the website, and we encourage you to go to the website. In fact, if you have kids that you think might be doing some drug of some sort, we have information there on what to look for, where to get help. The website is www.mynlccc.org, and everything you need to know, and all this information, all the data, our meeting minutes, our meeting schedule is all on there.
Contact information if they want to talk to somebody.
Everything is on there. Yeah, the prescription drug box. Last week there was a big national drug take back. Prescription drugs are becoming, really popular with kids, and the reason for that is they're taking them out of their grandparents, old drugs out of their grandparents or your medicine cabinet. They're taking them in, and New London kids, we know this as a fact, that they have pill parties. They bring pills to the party, they put it in a bowl, they mix them all up, and they just take something until something happens. God knows what that's all about. I would never do that, but
it's pretty frightening.
It is frightening. That's why if you have prescription drugs and you want to get rid of them properly, don't flush them down the toilet. They get into our water supply. Bring them to the police department. There's a box there that you could just put them in the box, no questions asked, and just walk away.
Yeah, one thing I want to ask you, and that is, with the current budget deliberations, although you are funded via grants, there appears to be a desire by the city government to close the Martin Center. Now, whether it's immediately or down the road, there seems to be a push to shutter this building. At your level, has there been any planning to prepare for a potential relocation of what you're doing? And if I surprised you with that question, I apologize, but I just, I know the seniors are petrified that just down below from you guys.
Well, I know there's talk about it, and I'd be silly to say that we haven't given it some thought, because you don't want to be surprised. There's talk about it, so you can't be surprised if one day they say, guess what, you're moving to so and so in 2 weeks or something. So you have to be ready for that. And I think emotionally we are, but what that really means, I don't know. This is a decision, again, like you said, the council and the mayor and so forth, that's their decision. We will continue to do the job we do, and hopefully we'll have the resources at whatever they put us, we'll have the resources to do the job, that we need to do for the, so it's.
Well, you're doing great work, and I've been personally pleased to have the opportunity to spend time and talk with you and your staff from time to time, and learn what you're doing, and see the value of what the program is providing. In our remaining few moments, what do you see as the kind of the long-term product or results or outcomes, goals and aspirations of the New London Community and Campus Coalition?
Well, that's a good question. And
Do you get to a point where you put yourself out of business? Or
no, you're never going to get to zero. But the bottom line is that the goal is to work with the school system, to work with the police. The goal is to have more kids graduate from New London High School, more kids go to college, more kids become successful New Londoners, have these kids have less violence, have less drugs on the streets. That's what the goal is. It's just to slowly work this through. One of the things we did, and I know we got some backlash on this, but one of the policies we changed, we have got an ordinance passed about no smoking, no tobacco in the parks and playgrounds. And a lot of people, some were really against it and some were really for it because, you have these kids and they see people smoking and they're putting butts on the ground and everything. I mean, we're trying to change policy also in the city so that the policy reflects a healthier New London, a better New London. We're not there to make, to give somebody who's a cigar smoker or somebody who enjoys a cigarette, a problem. We're there to make New London a better community, a better environment, a healthier community, and everybody needs to get involved in that. That's what a coalition is about. A coalition is everybody coming together and making it work.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned over the course of our conversation this evening, Ledge Light Health District 2 or 3 times. So it appears that they are one of the key players that you are working with as far as providing data and information and sharing and also helping to get your information out, that they're a good community partner for you.
Absolutely. Ledge Light is a great community partner, and so are, and if I have a second to read some of these off, I mean, we have the Boys and Girls Club, we have Catholic Charities, we have Centro, we have the city, of course, we have Connecticut College, Drop-In Learning Center, First Hispanic Baptist Church. I mean, there's a list here of about 35 organizations that work with us in different ways to get the message out and also to help us, succeed as a community entity. So
that's fabulous. Tom, we're on our last minute here, and I'd like to kind of give you the opportunity to offer you any final thoughts you'd like to share with our audience tonight. Any final anything profound that you'd like to leave with the audience that get them thinking about what you're doing and how maybe they can help?
I think some people are probably looking at this and saying, this is not going to work, or this is New London, you're not going to, but you know what, it is working. There are kids out there, all they want are positive role models, positive places to do things, and be looked at in a positive way. New London has great opportunities for their teens and their youth, and we just want to be a part of that, making sure that they grow up in a positive, healthy environment.
Well, I think that's all good. When we're getting into fade mode, Tony, I want to thank you for coming on.
You're very welcome. Thank you there, Marty.
And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching City Focus, and we'll see you again next week.